easiest. Yeah, all right, okay.
Okay.
So now, as I mentioned in this latest email that I sent you, I asked you to think about whether you have a personal experience with language learning or language usage, which is relatively current for you now. And you'd be willing to share that with us so that we can experience what language coaching is like. We've talked over an hour about it, and now we're going to experience it. And what I'd like you to do is, so one of you to volunteer, and then all the others, I'd like you to just take notes, whatever, based on what we've been talking about, anything that captures you, whether it's, yes, I can see a framework, I write down a few questions that I really like, which the coach asks. I really like how the silence is used. So any kind of aspect that you think is important, take notes, because we're going to be talking about these and reflect on the process itself. So it's a pretty complex process that we're going to be boarding onto. So my first question is there somebody who would like to volunteer a language learning issue or a language usage issue that they have? And it's not one of your students, but your own.
I've been learning German for 1.5 years.
Okay.
I can share my experience.
Who's talking? Sorry, because this is, I'm not in the...
It's Marcella.
Marcella, all right, okay. So would you be willing to talk about that for us?
Yeah, sure.
All right, okay. Then, so I'm going to be coaching according to ICF standards, okay? So there's a standard procedure, there's a framework. So thank you very much for volunteering to be talking about your language learning issues with us. And we'll try to keep a 10-12 minute framework for this, in which I will support you in you reaching your goals that you have for these 10 or 12 minutes. I can't promise any kind of outcome or success, but what I can promise you is I'm going to support you with all the professionalism that I have, okay? I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions. And if there's a question that you're not really happy with, or you don't really understand, or you wouldn't like to answer, then just tell me, okay? And I'd also like you to turn your video on, okay, so that I can see you.
Okay, just a second.
Okay, wonderful. Fantastic. Okay, thank you. All right, wonderful. Okay, hello. Okay.
Hello.
All right. So you mentioned the fact that you would like to talk about your German studies. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Okay. What is it that you have brought into this process now?
I've been having private lessons at home, and I've recently joined a group course at the Volkshochschule. I'm not sure you are familiar with this concept here in Germany.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so I've been having 3.5 hours of class a week, and at least 30 minutes a day studying. But I don't know if I'm not doing enough, or if the language is really that hard to learn, but it's quite challenging for me to use the language on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, so you've actually stated what is going on in your mind very clearly, so I'm very happy about that. So what you find challenging is to be using the language on a daily basis. Is that correct? Okay. I'm just, if that's okay, I'm just taking notes so that I can be, you know, just monitoring what's going on, and I can reflect on them.
Sure.
On a daily basis. Okay. What does it mean that it's challenging? Could you explain that to me a bit in detail?
It's okay for me to understand people. I feel that I can grasp most of the main messages in conversations, but the point is speaking. And I think the reason is that because I don't have the need to speak German on my daily basis. Yeah, I'm an English teacher. I work mostly from my home online, and I don't have as many interactions with the German people as I should. So for me, it's hard to make sentences, come up with questions, the word order, vocabulary, and that's my biggest challenge.
All right, okay. So it's the speaking, because you don't need it, so you don't really feel that you should be doing it on a daily basis, and you were not. Okay. What in the space of this 10 minutes that we have together now, what is it that you would like to reach by the end of it? What would you be satisfied or happy with?
Well, I think what we're going to reach is some point that I will recognize something that I'm not doing, and maybe I'm going to focus on that to get better results. Yeah, probably. Okay. I know
so
the answer.
Okay, so your goal would be to somehow, as you said, recognize something that you are not doing so that you can reach your goal of speaking more fluently.
Yeah.
Okay. Any guesses what there could be? Because of course I don't see where you are at, so what you were doing. You automatically said you're looking for something which you are not doing.
Speaking.
Speaking. Okay.
The classes that I've been taking, they are very much focused on grammar, and the teacher actually skips the communicative tasks in the book. And I think this is kind of how things work here, because it's not only my teacher. From what I talk to my friends, they all go through the same situation. And as I don't have any German friends or the need to speak to any German people, then the only chance I have to speak is in class. But in class, I don't have the chance to speak because the teacher doesn't promote any opportunities.
All right, okay. So let's open this up a little bit. So you'd say that you don't particularly have any friends or people in your network to be communicating in German with. Is this absolutely true?
For now, yes. I could speak to other Brazilian people who have a better level of German than I, but yeah, I don't really know any. Well, maybe one of my senior students would be willing to have some tea with me and talk a little bit, or exchange some, like 30 minutes we speak English and 30 minutes we speak German, something like that.
Okay. How would that feel for you? So would that be a positive step?
I think so. I'm very interested in learning more about the culture as well. So I think this would be very enriching.
Okay. Well, what other steps could you take to, you mentioned culture, so that's something that attracts you to Germany?
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. Is there a specific aspect of German culture that you would like, oh, I love the architecture or the literature or something?
I'm trying to get more in contact with music, the music that they appreciate here, which is more of classical music. So I think this could be a way to get more in touch with the language.
All right, okay, I see. So in what way do you think that could actually happen? So obviously listening to classical music won't move you forward with your German.
Yeah.
How would you approach that? So let's say you had an hour every week to delve into, you know, German music in some way, classical music.
Maybe I could learn more about the way they appreciate this kind of music, so that I could have more small talk topics to approach the people that I know, or even sports, which is something that they really appreciate as well.
Okay.
Maybe, yeah.
So sport, okay. And how would you kind of, you know, not only get into contact with these people, but to prepare for that kind of small talk? What do you think you would initially need for that?
I think I would get one of my materials related to small talk that I use with my students, and I would get the prompts and maybe translate them into German and focus on the language that I'm using, the grammar, try to understand why they are the way they are, and I would use that to start conversations maybe.
All right, okay, so what I'm hearing now is that you're gaining a deeper understanding of what is it that you could actually do, and you're taking an initiative, using your own materials and transferring them back into your own learning. Is that correct?
That could be.
And how does that feel for you?
I think it sounds like a good idea. I think it makes sense. Like, I'm a teacher, so I'm supposed to know how to learn a language. Yeah, but
right. Okay. So if I said, if you were listening to yourself with your teacher's hat on, what kind of advice would you give yourself? This would be one of them.
Yeah, I think so.
What other things would that teacher in you say to this student?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yep, sure. What else would this teacher say to this student?
What else? I think this teacher would tell the student to go out there and talk to people and try to interact more and find ways to practice, because nobody's going to do that for her.
Okay. What's the one specific step that you could take following this very clever advice of you should go and interact with people, which inherently you know, but what is it that you could maybe try out, just as see how it works?
I have a student who lives just 3 streets away from me. And maybe, and she really struggles with English. Maybe I could invite her to a coffee or something and offer her the opportunity to practice English, and while I practice my German.
Okay, so once again, it could be some kind of exchange in a way. So it's the second exchange that I'm hearing, and also music. Now, to summarize here, what are the things that you have identified now as moving forward with what you came with?
Basically that if I don't do anything, the results won't change, and I'm the one interested in learning, and I'm the one who need it, so I should be the one taking the first step. And I should start looking at the opportunities that I have instead of only looking at the things that I don't have, which is the chance to speak in the classroom.
Thank you. All right, okay. So I'll be closing this process now. Thank you very much for being courageous and brave enough to, I think we can give a round of applause. So thank you very much for Marcela. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. In the first round, very briefly, and this is going because I think this is really important, and I think you can read the slides and understand them, so that's okay. Very briefly, what was the experience of being coached? And Marcela, well, you can disappear if you want, but you can stay on the screen if you want. Thank you. What was it like to be coached? What kind of a feeling, or what kind of perceptions did you have of being coached?
I think for me, because I'm a coach, I know that it all comes down to realizing the things that you are not doing and the things that you can do with what you have. But I think students would feel maybe that they are being trapped, like because the questions are very specific, and they're very, they go really deep. But I think that's the way it should be done. And that's the only way we can help them realize the things that they probably know, but they are too afraid of identifying themselves. So for me, it was okay. I felt comfortable with that.
Okay. Was there anything that changed in you in the process of the coaching itself?
I think that the main point is looking at the things that I can do, and instead of looking at the things that I don't have, like the resources that I have that I can use right away, and which is not what I'm doing right now, and take action. But I think you were very clear in terms of what you can do, what's the first step you can take, the next thing you can do. And this really made me see a way to really leave this area that I'm not so comfortable at the moment.
Right. Okay. Okay. Kind of taking an initiative.
Yeah.
Which is in your power. So it's not something, it's not like brain surgery or anything. It's not something, it's not rocket science that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Or you are doing. It's just, you know, putting into words something which was kind of there before, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Now, I'd be very interested. I'd like to hear one or two things from everyone